I'm going to say this is reading it again this morning. It's very broad, right? But if you want to touch on a couple of the things that SDVoE in particular brings to the integrated OR and applications in healthcare, where would you start, Colin?
Yeah, I mean, so when I first got some commissions to look at an alternative transport mechanism for video, it did take me a while to sort of try and find what I felt was a really good solution, to be honest. We're going back a few years now, and so SDVoE was, I wouldn't say in its infancy, but it was certainly new to healthcare. But the more I looked at it, the more I realized how perfect it was. First of all, we have to look through our kind of essentials checklist. So we spoke about latency or delay in transmission, and we've measured that. It's like 40 microseconds. It's 1/400th of a frame of video. So we can just completely discount that and say there's zero latency for all intents and purposes. Is there any compression? Well, for most signals, there is no compression. But for some 4K formats, with a fairly high color depth and 60 frames a second, we apply a 1.3:1 ratio of compression. And just to put that in context, that will give you a 57 decibel ratio of signal to noise, which is 16 times better than the lossless 45 decibels. So it's really belt and braces, way beyond any level of compression that could give you a visual artifact. So that's one part of noise per 3,200 parts of signal. We also spoke about cybersecurity, and we've covered that. We've got 128-bit encryption. Of course, with standard IT tools, you've got access control. We know that within the API, we've got, as Gareth mentioned, we've got the ability to kind of ring fence certain encoders and decoders to make them off limits to certain encoders and decoders, so we can actually restrict access. And patient safety, we spoke about the risk of electrical shock. Well, the fiber solves that problem because it's innately galvanically isolated, which means there's no electrical current at all. It's just a light. So you can't electrocute anybody or give them a macroshock or microshock. But for me, what does SDVoE bring? The key contribution of SDVoE for me is way beyond video. So we've ticked all those boxes, but what else does it do? And I think it's down to largely the general purpose 1 gig data network that's present throughout the entire ecosystem when you build a room solution with this. There's much greater connectivity in communication pathways. You have RS-232, which is a very old but still current low bit rate communication protocol. We have infrared. We can do infrared emulation. USB, Ethernet. We can extend the keyboard, video, and mouse to remove the touch panel control from the computer. All of this is present at the endpoints. So the endpoints can extend your network. And that's for data command and control. You have the ability to connect third-party devices for sharing data and images with, and you have just great design flexibility. For me, talking to my clients, it's just, there's always a way to find a solution. So it is remarkable how much technology and these extra services are actually packed into SDVoE that go way beyond the efficient video transmission.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to add too. And I think I did touch on these at the head of the webinar. Interoperability piece. I think everybody within the SDVoE Alliance understands that they may not be able to provide every piece of the puzzle from the get-go. So having the ability to choose equipment from multiple vendors, displays is a good example where certain companies excel in making medical grade monitors, whereas that's the only part of the puzzle they make. Now, adding SDVoE connectivity to a monitor is great, but that's only advantageous if also the camera guys are doing the same thing. So then they can just interoperate and all be under the same API and software control. And the SDVoE Alliance itself brings that ecosystem together. As I think Charles touched on it, we had a slide that showed multiple product types. You know, you're not stuck to just encoders and decoders, that sort of black box style infrastructure. You can look at integrating it directly into PC environments. You can integrate HDMI connectivity directly on the Ethernet switch. You know, there's a lot of cool ways that our customers, that the members of the Alliance are adapting their technology. Wall plates, another great example. Wall plates are very powerful in an OR. You know, you give that ability to hide everything at sort of like, you know, foot level within the room or wherever, and have all the wires running within the walls back to the switch. These are some of the things that SDVoE brings to the integrated OR.